According to personal finance website NerdWallet, parents are in a tough spot. They want to help their kids with college tuition so their kids aren't saddled with debt, but they also want to save up for their own retirement. The first thing the website advises is to get your priorities straight and set specific goals. NerdWallet conducted a poll that showed most people save for both college tuition and retirement at about the same rate. But the website suggests to reprioritize and take care of your retirement savings first. And to do that, they suggest to set aside 10 to 15% of your income every year. When calculating how much you need to save up for your kids' college education, take their current age and multiply it by $2,000. That's how much you should have saved up so far, when on track to saving up enough to cover half the cost of a four-year public college. Another strategy is to turn debt payments into savings. That means if you've been paying down a debt like a car loan, once you're done, keep putting that same debt payment into a savings account for college or retirement. And consider this, every time you get a raise or start a better job that pays you more, increase your savings rate. If you don't think you're earning enough, get a part-time job or a side gig. You can give that money a purpose and direct it towards specific college or retirement accounts. One last tried and true option is to reduce expenses, whether it's reducing entertainment and dining expenses, taking shorter vacations, or sending your kids to public school rather than private school. Every dollar you save, you can put towards college and retirement. Once you save money, consider allotting some to a 529 college savings plan and a retirement plan like a 401k or a Roth individual retirement account. In that type of IRA, you make contributions with after-tax dollars and withdraw without paying tax or penalties. You also get the added benefit of early distributions of investment earnings for qualified education expenses. There's no penalty to do that, but you may be taxed.
All right, Leslie, thanks so much. You can read more about that topic and other local business stories and see Leslie's Bizcast videos at bizneworleans.com.